believe it's time. My watch says 6 o'clock straight up, but that one back there says 6:05. So we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you for being here. I appreciate all of you for being here and being involved in our meeting tonight. Rather than ask somebody to do the prayer, I sign myself to do that, and then after that, Councilman Brian Hewlett will lead us in the pledge. Our Father in heaven, as we come before thee this time, we are so very thankful that we can meet here today in Payson City, in the state of Utah, and the United States of America. We're so very thankful for the freedoms that we have to help self-govern ourselves. We're thankful for the participation in this meeting tonight. Would ask these to please bless them and the gallery and the city councilman and staff, that we may all work well together and do what's best as can be done. Help us to be with us, Father, and I say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Right. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll go on to B, consent agenda. Approval of the February 16th, 2022 City Council minutes. Resolution appointment of a director, alternate director, and technical committee to South Utah Valley Municipal Water Association, SUMWA. Resolution central leak agreement. Number 4, final plat approval of the Payson Hollow subdivision, 4 lots located at 294 north, 800 east in the R1 7.5 residential zone. If there's no discussion by council of these items on the consent agenda, I will accept the motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda. I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and we have a second. Roll call vote starting with Council Christensen.
Aye.
Council Hewlett.
Aye.
Council Carter.
Aye.
And
Council Hyatt's here.
okay, good. I'm just gonna see what your vote is. Go ahead.
Aye.
Okay, we would like to excuse, at least for now, Council Prosgard. He's stuck in traffic coming from Salt Lake, but he should be here momentarily. But the motion passes. Thank you. We'll go on to C, petitions. We'll have a public forum. Anyone can speak on items that are not on the agenda. And if you would limit your comments to 3 minutes or less.
Hi, my name is Chris Hughes. I've lived in Spring Lake for 35 years. And I'm here to kind of straighten out a few facts and truths and reality, especially after the last article in the newspaper. About 11 years ago, my husband and I began cleaning up a mess at Spring Lake as we walked around, and there was snow on the ground. When we noticed what was going on, there was a lot of garbage. And I don't mean just on the trail and in the path and in the trees. It was all along the edge of the water. It was quite bad. And we also found some emaciated ducks. We decided this was unnecessary. Well, to lose the ducks for no reason other than they're starving to death in the winter, and the fact that the pond was so dirty. So we got in touch with an avian veterinarian who told us what to feed. We used scratch grain by the 40 and 50 pound bags. We used corn, low sodium when we could find it. And they said that the birds would do better if they had some greens. So I've chopped hundreds of heads of lettuce. And that's what we've been doing for 11 years. We've fed 3 times a week during the summer. And we usually feed every day in the winter when it's bad, when the snow is on the ground and the water is frozen, they have nothing to eat and no place to go. And the reason is they don't fly away. They are domestic ducks. They don't go south for the winter. They don't even leave the lake. And the reason that they are there is because they are drop-offs. And that is because April and Easter, a lot of these places like IFA sell baby ducks and baby chicks and baby geese. And when they get tired of trying to raise them or they're not little anymore, they take them to the lake and drop them off. So they're not wild birds. They're domestic. They're not going to leave if you stop feeding them. They're going to die, or they'll take off and wander the neighborhood on foot looking for food, which some of them were at the time we found them. They were in the middle of the road. We fed the best possible diet that we could. And yes, on occasion there was some bread given to them. And that is because the veterinarian said it's like candy to a toddler. You give it to them a little bit at a time, and as long as that's not their only diet, they will be okay. And as far as the water goes and what they do to it, yes, ducks poop in the water and on the sidewalk, but also so do the horses, cows, sheep, and cattle upstream. The water goes a long distance before it gets to the lake, and it goes through several pastures and other areas where it can't help but be a little bit tainted. And I took it upon myself several years ago to get in touch with Mr. Yukelberry out of Salt Lake. And he came down, he works with water concerns. He came down and checked the lake every spring and fall, looking for bacteria levels. And yes, there was bacteria, and there was a beginning of algae bloom each year that he checked. But he also felt the same way, that it has to do with all the animals, not just the birds. And he also noticed at the time that when Payson City would mow around the edge of the lake or do any kind of weed cleaning, all of it went into the water, which caused a great deal of bacteria as it rotted along the water's edge. So he actually got in touch with someone in Payson to ask them not to mow and let all of its clippings go into the water. His name is Kevin Olkelberry. Like I said, he's out of Salt Lake. My husband and I took it upon ourselves to clean the park and the lake every time we fed, which meant we went all the way around the lake, and usually we filled several garbage bags full of garbage. This is cans, plastic, fishing line, and hooks. And talk about fishing line and hooks, we have to tell you also, it's a great hazard to the ducks and geese and to kids. We've had kids come out of the water with fishing line wrapped around them with hooks on the end of it. The garbage down there is doing a lot more damage than any of the birds. And sometimes in spring, it's neat down there because we occasionally do see a baby duck or a baby goose. If the eggs aren't found by predators or kids, sometimes they hatch. Then if they can avoid the hawks, the eagles, the kids, and the dogs, and the big mouth fish that they plant in the lake, they sometimes survive and grow up there. Not many do. So the truth is, all of our endeavor that we did was out of love for the birds and the natural beauty of the area. We took it upon ourselves 11 years to try and keep it clean. And not once did we see anybody from Payson City Parks or anyone else down there to clean up. And as far as it goes for DWR, we had several problems with predators, raccoons, coyotes, foxes, and we got in touch with them several times to see if they could help us because they were not only wandering the lake, they were killing some of the birds. And according to them, they couldn't deal with anything smaller than a cougar. They wouldn't trap or help us out with any of the predator animals. So we had that to take care of ourselves. Our work changed about a year ago when my husband had to have surgery. And we were very blessed with another couple who stepped in and offered to do the same job that we've been doing. Their last name is Knowles, some of you may have heard. But our hope is that when you make your decision about the birds and the lake, you'll keep the facts and the reality in mind. You're gonna need somebody down there a lot to clean up. And let the birds have a chance to survive. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Dave, I wonder if we want to try to get some chairs. There's a lot of people out in the hallway. Would that be good or not?
I'd just like to mention the problem with the traffic flow due to the Salisbury development.
That's an agenda item, right? Or
The traffic flow is from Salisbury?
never mind, sorry.
Mayor, can I get his name?
Robert Bloomer.
Good, thank you.
Sorry, go ahead.
There's already been several accidents at that corner. And just 100 yards up the street, there is a there's a left-hand turn lane. I know it's a state highway, there might be a problem there, but there's a definite need to something to be done there because people are driving on the shoulder. With CUP's recent expansion, there's certainly enough room on the shoulder there to pave that.
Now, that's a 1900 south, is that right, sir? 1900 south on the highway, right?
5,000 south and the state
Yeah,
highway.
it's a city address of 19 south, 1900.
Yeah.
It's so you're aware, we have got some funding through MAG, but it's a timing issue that some of that money is not going to be available. So it's certainly not something we're not aware of.
Okay, as long as you're aware, because then at Salisbury on 12,000 south, people going down to get onto the freeway there, I'll bet 2 out of 10 cars are going 60 miles an hour down there too.
Yeah.
So it does need to be addressed.
No, I appreciate you bringing it to, but we're trying our best to alleviate that problem.
I thought it was the other road that had the traffic problems. Okay.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. Thank you for your public service. My name is Doug Finch, and I represent the Finch family this evening. I'll just say that there are many of us in attendance and online participating tonight, and all 10 of us, including our parents, are all proud Payson High graduates. So it's great to be back here in Payson City tonight. We want to take the opportunity to just express our thoughts and concerns about an item that's on your action agenda regarding the 800 South.
And again, that's on the agenda, so we won't be able to do it in the public forum, but when that comes up, we'll.
And that's what I'm just asking. Would you consider my
Well,
thoughts?
it's not a
to
public
express
hearing,
my
but
time?
it'll be, we'll address it when it comes up.
Okay, we just want to offer for the
Sure.
record opportunity to
You
give
bet.
some thoughts from the.
And it's a little bit of a touchy thing where it's not a public hearing for that particular agenda, but
Yeah.
when it comes up, we'll address that.
Okay, so I'll just save my comments for that part of the
Yes.
agenda. Thank you very much.
Okay, apparently, we don't see anyone else here, but, or is there? Come on up. As long as it's not on the agenda, you're just fine. Go ahead, come on up.
I'm sorry, I'm late for, are we in the public hearing?
No, we're on, no, it's, and yours is on the agenda. So if it's on the agenda, this isn't the forum to do it.
Hi, I just want to address the city council, and I'm on the public forum, right? That's where we are.
Public forum.
Okay, great. I'm born and raised Payson. This is my home, graduated Payson High School, moved away for some years, lived in 2 other states. And all of
Mayor,
them
I need her name, please.
back to this area.
Ma'am, if you could pause just 1 second, would you please give us your name?
Oh, Patty Erickson.
Okay,
Thank you. So anyway, in trying to get my family, we've been back now for about 15 years, and it's been wonderful. And I want to again compliment the Parks and Recreation for the good that they have done and the fun things and leisure activities they provided for our family and the community. I really enjoyed the family environment that this community offers. One thing that I do want to bring up that I'm concerned about that I noticed has changed in the last 15 years since my husband and I have brought our family back here. And that, please, the nature that we have around us is so unique that people from up north traveling south on I-15, they pause and they take a breath and they notice what our valley, our area, our community looks like and what it offers. Everything from just the Nebo Loop to just the quality of the orchards, the air that we breathe, everything. It's a beautiful location. And when we first moved back 15 years ago, we purchased our home in Santa Quinn. And at that time, the theme was a city on the grow. And many of I have some dear Santa Quinn friends in the room here tonight. But just for my own personal peace of mind, because I love this area, we moved from Santa Quinn recently to Payson because it turned into a city becoming gross versus city on the grow. And a part of that is I feel all the building, I'm not anti-building, but I'm anti how they put just so much in such a dense space, where it's not just the building that's the issue, it's the cars and traffic that become the issue. And there's so much building that needs to happen, I realize, but my ask and plea here tonight is that as the council makes decisions on expanding our community and the growth that needs to happen, that we keep the nature in the feel of the community, the traffic flow that we want in the community, the quality of life we want in the community. And so it remains a city growing in the right direction and not becoming an urban decay 20, 30, 40 years from now. And I realize that's not something but because I am a concerned citizen that tries to be involved and contribute, I did feel like I need to express my love of this community and hopes that we can development in not just development purpose, but development in a futuristic right way purpose that'll have long-lasting family value effects as far as the housing need, but also the property values, the traffic again, and the way that we want it to look from people who continue to pass our community on the interstate, that they still want to take a stop and breathe and look at what we have, and that we don't. But thank you for all that you do. I do appreciate it.
Thank you for your comments, and certainly that is our goal. Okay, not seeing anyone else. Well, maybe no, don't see anybody else. Is anybody online that would like to express their view in the public forum? Okay, we'll go ahead and move on then. We'll go to number 2, staff reports. We have staff that would like to report to us.
Mayor, Council, I'll take just a minute. A couple of you have asked, I know what I'm talking about Spring Lake, but we need to fix part of the pumps there on the northeast side. But some of you asked that since we have to do that, about maybe the possibility of dredging the lake. We did talk to a dredging company. They don't have to, they actually prefer to dredge when there's water in the lake. They have a floating dredge that sucks the water, the sludge out. And they gave us a bid. It's quite pricey. I don't think we can meet it all in 1 year, but the thought was, and I just wanted to come back to the council, it's not something you have to make a decision on, but if the council's serious about getting that dredged, I propose that we put in the next budget adjustment, $200,000. That would have them dredge for approximately 30 days. We can see how much they can dredge out of that, and then we could see what we have to do the next year to try to get the full lake dredged out, probably 4 to 5 feet deeper than what it is now. It would help the lake. But I know there've been some comments in the past to do that. I just wanted to make sure if the council wants to do that, we can sure address that at the next budget adjustment and have the dredging company come. One of the things we would have to do, the bid included, because there's not a lot of property that the city owns around the lake, they would have to use their bags, huge bags, but they fill the stuff in and then the water filters out and it dries out after a couple of months. And then the city would have to move that material out. The other thing is if there were a pond or there was a piece of property that it could be pumped to, then we wouldn't have to use those bags and you could probably dredge more out for a period of time. But just wanted to see what the council's thoughts were on that before we move forward. If you want us to pursue that, we're happy to try to put that in the budget. It might take a couple of years time to get the full lake done, but thoughts?
I'd like to make a few comments. I personally think that it's a really cost-effective way to store water. If we deepen that pond, we can double or even triple its water capacity to store it for longer times. It'll allow for the water to clear up a little bit. Bacteria would decrease because it wouldn't get as cold. It wouldn't stay as warm. It'd stay colder because it's a little deeper. Those bags are very, very expensive. As I'm looking out, this was kind of an opportunity, a good time to bring it up. So if you're in Spring Lake and interested in allowing us to even stockpile it on your property until it dries and then haul it off, we could save hundreds of thousands of dollars in the process of doing it. Otherwise, we're just going to kind of do what we can and move on. You could keep the dirt. We're not necessarily in the market for the dirt, but anyway, I'm just kind of putting feelers out there. Contact us in private so that nobody, I mean, you guys are all passionate about Spring Lake and whatnot, but it'd be nice to be deeper as well. So food for thought there. We can pump it a long ways, by the way. They've given us numbers. It doesn't get cheap when you get out that far, but we could push it 7 miles. But we have to rent the pipe to run 7 miles. So
Yeah,
if you're somewhere downstream, something like that, you've got a low spot. Yeah, we'll give you lots of free dirt. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, when the dredger said he could push it that far, I said, let's just do it at the landfill. Then it's already there. But no, just your thoughts.
Yeah, I got a couple of things, Dave. One is I know in the legislature, they're working on Capitol Hill. I think there's money for project to save and store water. We might want to be looking at that. Also, we might, I don't know if we have a contract with DWR because they've stocked the
We
pond.
do.
So we need to look and see what that contract says as far as what we can do. But I would like to see that become just a great local place for and have good water there and everything. So I would like to move forward.
Any other thoughts?
I also would, I'm all for dredging Spring Lake.
Me too.
I guess we'll make it unanimous. Well, Teresa, what's your thoughts?
I agree.
Okay.
Sorry.
Like I say, we have another budget adjustment probably the end of this month or first of next month, and you'll be able to consider that and formally vote on it. But I just wanted to bring it up as a staff report because we did get a bid back, and I know some of you have been interested in doing that, so we can proceed and see what we can do to make that lake better.
Could you have them amend the bid and give us 2 breakdowns? One with them putting it in a bag and one with, because we do happen to have.
Yeah, the one we have with the bag, and he was very good. He's starting a project up in North Utah County on Utah Lake. He said that's going to go till approximately May. But he said if you're interested in doing that, I can mobilize from there instead of Logan. That's where he's out of. it would save us some money to mobilize down there and get it going. But yeah, we can get the different types of bid if it's just pumped into a piece of property until it dries out. You know, that's probably a little cheaper than the bags.
Another thing, Dave, we might look at maybe using a little bit of park tax money too.
To clean up the park.
Just for the, right?
Yeah. Okay, thank you. It would be.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other staff? If not, we'll move on to the council. Looks like we'll move on to council. Teresa, since you're not here, I'll give you first dibs.
Don't have anything to talk about right now.
Okay, thank you. Council Prosker, Bob.
I'm good.
Okay. Linda?
It's so great to look out and see this room full. It's too bad you guys are all from Spring Lake.
That's okay. That's okay.
Wish we could get the Paysonians to come. I just want to say how thankful I am for all of our city workers and the job that they put forth. I think most of us know how hard a job it is and how hard they work. We might not see it all the time, but they put a lot of hours and a lot of effort into making our city look good. So I'm thankful to all of them, and that's all I've got.
That's Neil.
I don't have anything, Mayor.
That's all. Christensen?
Sure, I'll take this one. So we did get an email about the ducks. I'm gonna come back and revisit the ducks of Spring Lake. And about somebody that creates signs that tend to help to stop people from the dumping. I think the illegal dumping is where the problem has stemmed from. Native ducks don't need to be taken care of in ways like that. They migrate, they come and they go. The problem I see with the domestic ducks living in Spring Lake is we're not getting those beautiful native ducks. Now I have nothing against domesticated ducks, but they aren't quite the same. And I know that there are people out there that are tending to them, but I would love to see some tills and some mandarins and different kinds of ducks there that do come and around in this area. Canadian honkers come through, things like that. I still look at the domesticated ducks are nothing more than an invasive species. And we wouldn't allow an invasive weed to take it over and drive it out and around the outsides of it and things of that nature. I don't propose that we go out and just blanket slaughter the ducks to get rid of them. To me, that's unethical. That's not right. If we want to round them up and sell them, if somebody wants them, as well, we could find somebody in the area that maybe wants them and wants to put a fence around a piece of property and move those ducks to that piece of property and remove them from the pond so that the pond.
Your email has a lady that runs
I'm getting to that. And so the rescue would be fine. We could call her, she could come rescue them that way. There's a lot of different ways. I'm not saying let's just dispose of the ducks, but I am fully in favor of restoring the pond back to what natural ducks would actually use. Then the predators would leave because the food source is gone. They're less likely to be as around, and we could manage them a little bit better. Anyway, so that's my stand on the ducks. I think we should get with her and at least get the signs, get the dumping stopped and move from there. So everything else looks good. I'm excited that things are moving forward. I love that Spring Lake is getting cleaned up. I appreciate your guys' love and passion for that area, and hopefully we can do it justice. That's all.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to CTC, Mayor's Youth Recognition Award. Kim?
right. Oakson, is that right? I'm standing right next to the mayor. So this is Blake Oakson. He is from Payson Junior High, and he was nominated by them. And they said Blake is a fantastic student who puts a lot of thought and effort into class. He not only works to understand, but also helps those around him understand difficult concepts. He has an easygoing personality, and that is from Maggie Hansen. And then they said Blake simply goes to work every day trying to find out what he's capable of. Not surprisingly, he excels at whatever he works at. There have been more than a few occasions that Blake outperforms peers bigger, faster, and stronger than he is due to his focus and work ethic. And that was from Mr. Archer. Congratulations. All right, our next one is Kyler Tishner.
Just so everybody knows, he's my nephew, so.
I was just gonna say that I heard that you might be related to the mayor. It has nothing to do with these nominations, just to tell you that. The schools nominate the kids, and mom told me that. So anyway, Kyler is a wonderful person and a great student at Payson High. One of the things that I appreciate most about Kyler is his positive attitude. He brings such a positive attitude to class and his classroom interactions. Another thing I really appreciate is his willingness to help out. In the classroom, he is so helpful. At least one last thing that I appreciate about Kyler was that he is very involved in school activities and other extracurricular events. We're really lucky to have Kyler at school. That's Payson High. Hey, last but not least, is it Evie? Am I saying that right? Evie Bishop? She is from Mount Nebo Middle School. Comes down, yeah, there you go. So Mount Nebo School is like overachievers when they give me their write-up. So they like have, she has like, other than they just totally love you. So like a whole bunch of teachers responded. So I'll kind of give you the quick notes. So, Mrs. Barker is the one who nominated you, and she said, Evie is fantastic. That is in capital letters. The second she walks into class, she immediately volunteers to help with anything I need. She gives her best effort on assignments, and she is a shining example of a respectful, outstanding, academic, and responsible student. I appreciate what a good friend she is to others and how supportive she is to her peers. And then Mrs. Miller said, she's very deserving. She's pleasant to everyone, and I do mean everyone. She comes to class and asks Mrs. Miller, do you need help with anything? When she completes her assignments and has free times, she asks if she needs help with anything again. And then Mr. Ledsmith? Oh, okay, that. This is cycling, and he said he doesn't know you very well, but he has gathered that you're a sweet girl. Mrs. Lundell said, Evie is such an amazing choice for the award. She's a hard worker. She does what she asks, loves to learn and grow and progress in whatever she is doing. She's the kind of student that I love to have in my class. Mrs. Dean said, Evie is a wonderful student. Not only does she work hard, she's positive and a great friend to everyone she meets. And then they said they love having you at their school, so congratulations. You parents, you can come up and take pictures. The mayor and city council comes down. You guys are welcome to come right up front and take pictures. Yes.
You guys better be nice to them. They're tomorrow's council and mayor. They really are.
Okay, the next one, we would like to recognize the Payson High cheer team. If the members would come on in, and Marilyn, if you're here, I believe you will be, would you come and let us know a little bit about your team? Come on up front, guys. All ladies. Hi, guys. Come on up front. Don't be shy. If I can be up here, you can.
Hi, I'm Marilyn Morgan. This is the Payson High Cheer Squad for 2021-22. We're really honored and excited to be here with you tonight. Thank you for inviting us. This team's been awesome. Some of these girls, I've had the honor of coaching for 3 years. They were sophomores when I started, and now they're graduating. So they've all grown up. So it's kind of a sad year for me to get rid of those, to be saying goodbye, not getting rid of, saying goodbye to these 11 seniors that we've had. They've been awesome, but it's always a consolation to know that I have the sophomores and juniors still. They make my heart okay. But these girls have just been amazing this year. They've worked super hard. We decided to try a hand at competing, and this was our first year doing that. They worked really hard. They didn't always want to do it. It was, like sometimes pulling teeth to get them to do what they needed to do, but they did it, and it was very rewarding. They happened to take first at the Central Region cheer competition, and then they took first at the USA region competition, and then when we went to state, they took third overall, which was, they far exceeded my expectations. Yeah, our goal was to go and hit clean routines and do our very best. And they did that, and it just happened to be rewarded with a lot of good placements. So thanks, guys, and thanks for having us here tonight.
Stay in place just a second, guys. Girls. It was my honor to go over to the USA competition, and I really enjoyed the reception I got. It was wonderful to see each and every one of you. Extremely proud to sit there as mayor of Payson and have you represent us. So thank you very much.
I think I'll do a cheer.
Can you get us all in?
One, two, okay. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for being here, ladies. We really do appreciate you. Better get my eyes on here. Okay, we'll move on from that to Chamber Business of the Month. Is Michelle here or Dr. Thor Mungie? Oh, Jim. Thank you, Jim. I had the names down here and I didn't see you. Thank you for being here.
Our business of the month winner is not able to be with us tonight. Again, right? So our winner So I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with Rosestone Rentals. Rosestone Rentals and the Rockin' Robins Ranch Bread and Breakfast down in Santa Quinn is this month's Business of the Month. Lynn Robbins and her late husband Wesley Robbins started the company 30 years ago. Unfortunately, Wesley passed away in January of this year. But they have been awarded the Business of the Month due to their great service to guests, and they have visitors from all over the globe for the past 30 years. They go above and beyond to make sure their guests are comfortable and have a singularly unique experience. Rosestone Rentals offers fully furnished condos, townhouses, cottages, and executive units throughout Payson. And Rockin' Robins Ranch is a farmhouse stayed on a family ranch located in Santa Quinn. The bed and breakfast has guest suites with private bathroom, as well as guest rooms with a shared bathroom. Beautiful gardens, fire pit, fireside, the adult swings, children's play areas are part of the ranch, as well as free-range chickens, horses, ponies, and other animals. They also have some spectacular gardens that offer use by grieving families to observe memorials, as well as to circle. So congratulations to Rockin' Robin Ranch, and hopefully y'all will get down and visit a night away and relax down there for that breakfast.
Thank you, Jim.
May I share a couple things about the chamber? What's going on with the
You
chamber?
bet, please do.
So next Tuesday is our monthly breakfast club meeting where Logan Laws from Your Employment Solutions, a staffing company, will be speaking. This is held at the Orchard Bible Church up on 90. I'm still finding it. So that's at 7:45 on Tuesday. Everyone's welcome. If you hire employees, come and learn the ins and outs of hiring from temps up to executive hiring, as well as networking with businesses. We had a ribbon cutting last month for Orchard Eye Center here in town. We're working on our Easter scavenger hunt, so there's going to be eggs hidden around Payson and Santa Quinn. You can all get involved in that scavenger hunt and have a good time with that. And our first annual on June 4th, 4-Bay 5K run will be happening on June 4th. We want everybody to come out, run or walk to 4-Bay canyons. I believe we're taking the easy route and not the more difficult ones that are out there. But that'll be a lot of fun, so hopefully you'll all join us there.
Thank you. Thank you, Jim.
Mayor, if I could I make a motion to suspend the agenda and allow the mayor to move at his discretion?
Okay. We have a motion, we have a second to amend the agenda. Roll call vote, starting with Council Hyatt,
Aye.
Council Proscar,
Aye.
Council Carter,
I
Council Hewitt, aye, Council Christensen. Okay, we will go ahead and, that passed, we'll go ahead and amend the agenda and bring number 3, the public hearing / ordinance, request to extend the municipal boundaries to encompass the property included in the proposed springs at Spring Lake annexation at approximately 3650 west, 1240 south. So we'll go ahead and do that at this time. I'd like to turn some time over to staff. Chris, come on up.
So we're working out the screen share just 1 sec. It's not quite as fun when the room is this full, but let's see how this goes. All right. Well, let me run you through my presentation and then I will answer any questions that you have. The applicant's here. We've got a lot of people from Spring Lake here as well. I'm sure they'll want to weigh in. So the overview of this proposal, it is a 3-parcel annexation. It's 9.27 acres altogether. We accepted this for further review back in August. The request does include a zoning designation, that's R115, which for everybody here just means a minimum of 15,000 square foot lots. When this was sent out during the protest period, there were several protests filed. Because of that, it went to the county's boundary commission, and they ultimately elected to let the city council make the final decision on this annexation. So with that, there was also a petition submitted from nearby property owners, over 1,500 signatures on that. The petition was requesting to stop annexations in this area until an area-specific plan has been imposed over this area. And there are other concerns in that as well, but that's the main overarching thing, is let's get more answers before more properties brought in. So like I said, currently the applicant is requesting 2 main things. One of those is annexation into the city, and the other is the R115 zoning designation. So the applicant has submitted conceptual layouts that would reflect that zoning designation. However, staff haven't gone into super intense detail with them because they are just concept plans. So the concept plans would fit the proposed zoning. Again, it's just a concept. Later on, when the applicant submits a subdivision application, we look in more detail at that. So these are the properties in question. It looks like 2, it's actually 3. If you see that sliver on the north and east, that's a parcel as well. This is just north of 12240 South, between about Springside Meadows and Spring Lake itself. And this is the annexation plat. I can come back to this in a bit, but I've got a few more slides. So like any other application, when we did our staff review, we looked at the general plan and wanted to make sure that the proposal met the stipulations of the general plan and the goals of the general plan. So with that, the goals of the general plan are to guide growth in Payson in a strategic way. Growth is inevitable. People are going to move here no matter what. Nothing we can do about it. However, the general plan is intended to get ahead of that growth and steer in a way that's most conducive to a thriving community. So speaking of the general plan, there's a future land use map, which is a component of that plan. And that shows this area as low density residential, which is 2 to 5 megawatt per acre. So R115 zoning, being 15,000 square foot lots, would fall within that range. However, that is just one component of the general plan. Also important in any land use application is getting a feel for the character of the surrounding area. So with that, there is some context here. The JT Valley annexation includes the properties immediately north of this proposed annexation. So that was annexed in 2020, and when it was brought in with the intention that it would be a transition zone between the more dense areas in Springside Meadows and the less dense areas in Spring Lake. So with that, the petition from the property owners in the area centers around the general plan and around the overarching goals of that plan. And they have some concerns that those goals will not come to fruition if there's not enough detail and attention paid to this area. And if we don't have an area specific plan so that the citywide goals of the general plan can be applied on a more exact and more minute level. So as you know, there are 2 types of approvals that the city council can give. One of those is legislative, one of those is administrative. Annexations are legislative decisions. So the applicant can meet all of the stipulations in city code and in state code to be eligible for annexation, and the council still has a prerogative to deny that annexation if they don't think it's appropriate. So if the annexation is approved, and if you do assign the zoning that the applicant has requested, that would allow lots as small as 15,000 square feet. Any other submittal, like the subdivision submittal, would be an administrative approval. So if the applicant checks all the boxes, your hands are kind of tied, you have to approve. So this is the time to weigh in. This is a time to look at it objectively and subjectively and make a decision based off of that. And I would submit the following questions. Is it the best use in the area? Is it the best use in the area right now? And does this benefit Payson City and by extension the people in Payson City, the residents? So yeah, now's the time to decide. If it's approved, the subdivision would have to be approved if all the boxes are checked. So if there are concerns, now's the time to hash them out. So things to consider. There's a lot at play here, so this slide is much longer than it usually is when I make these presentations. The impact on surrounding property owners is a big one. There are a lot of people that feel passionately about this area and about this application. Like I said, the petition was signed by over 1,500 people. That's substantial, and that's something that ought to be looked at by the council and considered. And I would encourage you to hear those concerns during the public hearing and do everything you can to address them. General plan compatibility is another important part of the equation. Like I said, it does fall within the range shown on the future land use map. However, that's one page in a document that's over 100 pages long. So there's a few, well, there's many factors that play with the general plan, and I would encourage you to consider all of them. Development rights in the city versus the county. So this is sort of theoretical. If you were to deny the annexation proposal, the applicant would still be allowed down to 20,000 square foot lots in a platted subdivision in that county zoning designation that property is already in. So essentially the difference is between 15,000 square foot lots versus 20 in terms of the vested development rights. So again, is this the right time for this property to be annexed? And if so, going forward, how would we ensure that the city's bases are covered in the annexation agreement and when we're bringing those properties?
Chris, can I ask you a quick question on the 20,000 versus 15?
Okay.
So I was always understanding the county, you had to have like 5.25 acres. So I'm just wondering how that works. Is it because of where it's located, or why is it the 20,000? If you just explain that to me, I appreciate it.
No, that's a good distinction. Like, so it's 5.25. It's not part of a platted subdivision, and it's 20,000 square feet. So,
But does the county, I haven't seen them do many platted subdivisions, is that?
I don't know. I don't know
Okay.
if they do a lot, but it is something that is part of the rest of development rights and has not.
They would still have to meet all of the county's requirements, infrastructure requirements, all of it. So, and the zoning allows it already, but there are still subdivision requirements with the county that they would in order to qualify.
And I can't speak to a single one of those because I don't work there, but I'm sure they're important. Let me show you the concept plan that the applicant has submitted for the area. We looked at a few concept plans. Most of them look like this. Like I said, this concept plan includes the area that was in the JT Valley annexation. So the Zeman properties north of the proposed annexation are in the concept plan. Staff concerns that have come up after our cursory review of the concept plan. Again, we're not going to get into a huge level of detail because it's not an official subdivision application. Utilities, road access, the impacts on adjacent properties, and then there's a lot of environmental concerns in that area, as you know. We're going to need more information to address all of those, and that would come to the subdivision process. So if it is annexed and if the applicant does submit a subdivision application, that's when we would really delineate these lots and get exact measurements and exact answers on the concerns in that area. So this did go to planning commission on February 9th. We did hear some input from the public, although there was not a public hearing at that meeting. A lot of the concerns from planning commissioners echoed the concerns from residents in the area. A lot of utility issues, a lot of road issues, a lot of preservation of the character of the area. It's a unique area in the community, and people want to keep it as unique as it is and special as it is. So with that, the planning commission did recommend approval of the current request, but they also recommended an area specific plan to be created for the area. So that was their recommendation. And then potential recommendations for you, I can leave these up. Approval as requested is obviously an option. Like you can approve the annexation, you can approve the zoning that the applicant has requested. You could also approve the annexation and choose to sign a different zoning designation. And I have A5H up there, it's our annexation holding zone, as you know. Sometimes when there are things that, when there are pieces of property that are brought into the city, but we don't have all the answers we need, it'll come in as A5H, and then later on we'll assign zoning once we have those answers. You can also remand it back to staff for additional information. You can also deny the request. And with that, the applicant will still have all their vested development rights under the county's jurisdiction and under the county's zoning designation for that property. Now, as with any recommendation, please support it with findings of fact that we can include in the justification of the documents for that proposal. So I think that, yeah, that's my last slide. I'll leave that up. If you have any questions for me specifically, I'm happy to take them. The applicant's here as well, and yeah.
Unless the council would like to ask some questions, what I would like to do is go ahead and open the public hearing. Council.
I would, but I would like to make one stipulation.
And I was about to go ahead.
The plat is, all it is a concept, and we are not discovering that tonight, or we're not, because as it is platted, I'm sure, I know there's problems with it, it's flawed. And so the only thing we're being asked to do here tonight, the only thing I would like to talk about tonight, Mayor, if that's fine.
You bet, that's fine. I was going to say the same.
The only thing I'd like to talk about tonight is number one, the annexation and what zone, if there is a zone. I don't want to talk about the plat.
And the reason for that is it's not a valid plat.
It's not an established plat, and it's DOA.
Right. Well, we haven't even received an application for subdivision at all because it's.
I just want to clarify that. So that the audience knows that. We'll talk about that. No, it's not a legal document and it's not before us.
What are the zoning options? We've got R115, which is the smallest we'd ever consider, right? The A5H, which is a holding zone, which is going to put it into a holding pattern, which would come back and be rezoned later. At that point in time, is there a R120?
There is.
Within our code?
R120, which.
Can we do R145? Is it that those are
R120 is the highest, other than R1A.
R1A, which is
the residential agriculture zones.
okay. That would be the R1A. That would be 1 acre lots at that point, or what is there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
And that's why I was trying to clarify. So we know where to go when we're zoning this through this discussion. I can think, well, we can't do that one. We can do this one. So, and R115 is 1/3 of an acre, and then R120 is approximately 1/2 an acre, give or take, right? A little ballpark figures on those, by the way, but that's what they are, so that you're aware.
Okay, with that said, I will accept a motion to open the public hearing. So moved.
Seconded.
Okay, we have a motion. It's been seconded. We'll have a roll call vote. Oh, I guess it's just a regular vote, isn't it? All in favor?
Aye.
Teresa, did I hear you?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, I'll go ahead and open the public hearing again with the caveat that we are talking about the annexation of the property involved and also the zoning. Please do not mention in your comments anything to do with the plat, because it is not a valid plat. And we shouldn't even be talking about it at this point. Russ, Robert, what's that? Yes, so I'll read this. I'll open the public hearing. Step to the mic. State the name and address. We don't necessarily have to be too hard on the address, but especially your name. Speak clearly to us, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. So I'm not going to set a timer, but please be cognizant of the time.
Mayor, do you want to add, sometimes you add that if somebody's already said the same
Oh,
thing,
yes.
not to
Yeah,
just repeat the same thing.
Agree or disagree. If you did agree or disagree with the previous comments, please do not repeat and state new information. So under those guidelines, public hearing is open.
Jason Knapp. Appreciate the mayor, the city council, the staff. There's been a lot of time and effort that has been given, a lot of consideration that's gone into this already. A lot of
individuals giving their personal time to meet with the concerned residents, and really do appreciate the process and everybody's openness. Thank you, Chris, for the summarizing some of our concerns. I don't know where Chris just went, but well done. And since our last meeting in the working session, after that, I received some probably wise counsel from Councilman Hewlett that it might be worth reaching out to talk to the developer, Rob, who's here, and see if we could try and work towards some common ground. And so I did follow that advice and had the opportunity to have Rob in my home, and it was a great meeting, very cordial. He was very kind, and I appreciated his openness to trying to find a direction that could work for everybody. And he and I, we talked through some concepts. One of the things that my wife and I had proposed was being willing to donate some adjacent ground to meet some of his concerns, some of the property owners or the neighbors' concerns, as well as the cities, and try and see if we could find something that was a win-win across the board for everyone. We need more time on that process. I think that, well, and let me back up and say, after I met with Rob, I also had the opportunity to get together with many of the members of the community to talk through what had been happening, where we were in the process, some of the proposals, hear more concerns from some of the residents. And in the end, there was a consensus that the residents, we were very concerned, obviously, and love that jewel of Spring Lake and want to preserve it. But there is a lot of openness to try and find a path forward that can work for everyone. I am very concerned about the assignment today of R115 zoning. I think that would be premature at this process. At this point, I think there's a lot of good that can still happen if we either postpone. I don't know if you can postpone the annexation, but if not, at least put it in a holding pattern for now, while we continue to work towards some of the resolutions. So one of the offers that's on the table is to give some land to the city and the developer to be able to put in a regional lift station instead of just one for that specific area. So anyway, there's a lot of potential. There's definitely concern with the transition into this larger lots as you move into Spring Lake, and I don't think that the R15 zoning would meet those concerns. Would hope that we could find ultimately some other way of transitioning, but again, we're premature in the process to really assign that R115 zoning. So, thank you.
So are you asking for that time to do the regional study then? Is that kind of?
Ideally, yes, but recognizing in the working session that there was a feeling that may take a while before we get there. I think that there might be some ability for the residents to work collaboratively with the city and with the developer to potentially address many of the concerns even before that's done. But ideally, yes, that would be the
So just before you go, what about the A5 holding zone?
Yeah, so I think again, our first request would be to pause on the annexation or anything until the development was, or until the area specific plan was complete. But in the spirit of cooperation and trying to work towards something that works for everybody, personally, I think that's probably a pretty reasonable solution to put it into an A5 holding zone until we're able to work collaboratively and find that solution that can be a win-win-win. I don't think this has to be a win-lose anywhere. I think it was Councilman Prosgaard in the last meeting that, or maybe it was the mayor, somebody had mentioned that nobody's going to get everything that they want, but I think we can find a solution here where it's a pretty good, it's a beautiful area, and we can find something that addresses everybody's concerns, and it's a good solution. But we need to be a little bit patient in this. Maybe not a year, but give us a little more than a week time.
Okay, Chris, I have a question for you back there. In the A5H holding, the agricultural 5A, is it 5 acre holding zone? Is that what that signifies? So that you could build, they could potentially put a house per 5 acres on this annexation based upon that, right? I'm getting, Robert up here is nodding for you. He got what I was saying. So
Yeah, so there's one division of land that can take place on any parcel that's in the 5H zone, and then it would have to be.
So potentially there could be, is there one existing home on this 3
Yes.
parcels? So there could be up to 4, right? Because you could divide the one twice, the other one twice. Potentially, even in the A5H, there would be a possibility of 4 homes, just so that we're all aware of that, right?
It's only 90.
Yeah, but if there's one legal subdivision, I think you could subdivide 5 acres into half and still be in the A5H, right?
Yeah, you'd have to have a minimum 5-acre lot, and that
Okay.
minimum 5-acre lot can only be divided once.
So,
you can get one.
so there
It's
could,
5 acres,
okay.
once it's 5 acres.
Right, if there were tenant before, but there could, anyway, I'm just trying to clarify that it's not, sorry, sometimes I muddy the water because I think out loud, that's what the mayor says, but.
Yes, you do.
I'm just gonna stop thinking then.
No.
If I could, the A5H, the H stands for hold. And that allows for what Mr. Knapp's asking for and what really, is something that we need to look at. So it means a holding. We brought it in, we had to designate it as a zone. We gave it that one until things are worked out.
Right, I just wanted to clarify that it wasn't,
And you cannot divide, so you cannot divide that 9.26 legally and make one 5-acre lot and the other one 4 point whatever. That's an illegal subdivision. Is that correct?
It doesn't.
Yep.
okay. And that's what that's what I was trying to clarify, because I knew that you could divide it once, and I wasn't sure if it didn't matter the size of it, it could still be divided once. That's why I was clarifying, so.
I think the A, John, I'll just inject this too. I think the A5H would give us the time as, and I've discussed this with Jason, would give us the time to work out those kinks that need to be worked out and come to a better outcome.
And I should clarify, thank you, Mayor. I should clarify that my statements about the A5 holding is, I've not talked to anybody about that. That's me personally. Most of the rest of what I've said, I've had the opportunity to discuss with many of the residents, not everybody, but so. Any other questions for me before thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Gotta get lower.
My name is Del Scott. I have the property just north of the Jeff Seaman property. I'm the one that sold Jason his property so he could build his house out in Spring Lake. I'd like to thank Payson City, but it's really your predecessors. When I first moved into the area in '77, we talked with the city manager about pumping water out of the lake to use to start the lawn process at the pavilion. And he told me that would be fine because Payson City wasn't using that water at that time. And so we actually got started with some scouts planting some grass and putting in the sprinkling system that's currently out there, as well as some other things. So I'd like to, again, take care of the foundation that you guys have built earlier. You should know that because I have a 5-acre lot and I did split it, and I do have a county subdivision, and that's how Jason got his property. The problem happens to be that there is no sewer out there and there is no water out there. The only water that's on that property is a well from the Ron Seaman had. So because of that, unless the county's changed their ordinance, because the Jeff Seaman property borders a legal county subdivision, he can divide that in the county, but he still has to deal with the utilities. That's my understanding, unless they've changed the rules. When I went through the whole process of working with the county and the county engineer to deal with all the issues you deal with the subdivision. So I think the proposal that my neighbor Jason's put in there for a hold, take a look at it, is a reasonable way to proceed. But in part of that, and looking at the agenda, I'd like to ask the question about what an RMF 10 is, I think. What that zone is.
These 10,000 square foot lots.
So,
RMF 10 or R110?
no, in your agenda, what it says is that Zeman property is going not to an R1-15.
An RMF,
An RMF 10.
RMF 10.
That's in the agenda. So I just have a question to know what that is, because it might have impact on going from an A. I know it's not, but I'm asking a question to understand the A.
It's a heck of a lot more dense property than, or.
I'm just
housing
asking
than you
because
want.
we're saying going to an A5. I'm just asking a question. We're talking about going to A5, and on the agenda, it says we're going from an A5 to an RM.
No, that's different.
That's
That's
just-
totally different.
I'll explain what it is.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you for your questions.
the RMF 10 zone is the residential multifamily zone that allows 10 units per acre. That's not being proposed on the Zeman property. Last week, a courtesy notice was sent out that R115 zoning is being proposed on the Zeman property as well. That will be going to planning commission on March 9th.
That
Does that
RMF is,
clear everything up? Yeah.
It's already in.
Yeah, the JT documentation.
the RMF is on a totally different.
Yeah, that's,
He's online.
That's
too.
West.
Yeah, mine too. So that has nothing to do with what we're doing here.
yeah, that's.
I just think his question was if it goes to an A5 holding, then clearly it could go to RMF in 10, because that's what the other property did.
But that's not what the general.
But that's not what we're talking about tonight.
Yeah, there are places in the city where A5H has changed to RMF 10. That has happened before. This won't be one of them.
It doesn't align with our master plan, so pretty good progress.
Thank you, Chris.
While she's coming up, I guess I would like to say something that you just seen us approve and want to find $200,000. And now we're talking of another $200,000 to do the study, which I think you'll find that unanimous. So we're putting our money where our mouth is as a city to protect the lake and to protect what's out there. So don't think you're in an adversarial position here, guys. We're with you all the way, but we also represent 25,000 other people that are in the city, and we're tagged or tethered with the responsibility of making a right and fair decision for them also. Does that make sense? You nod your head no, but it does make sense. It has to be fair. And we talk about being fair. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Helena Carter Thomas. I live in Spring Lake. I own about 23 acres in the area. My dad was raised right above the trout farm, so I've spent a lot of my life fishing, hunting, trapping, picking asparagus. I mean, we've done in the fields that we're talking about here. And there used to be some orchard, more trees and things over in parts of this. And anyway, as I was doing all of those things over the years, one thing that I know for a fact is that there's a lot of springs, and you may not be seeing these springs coming up physically on the top of the ground right now, but I guarantee that if you dug, into the ground, that the water is there. And in the development that what's it, Springside Meadows, is that what it is? The one right by the school, the closest one to us, what's that development? Anyway, in that development, I mean, rumors, I guess, I do have some information that is concerning to me about things that kind of went on when they were doing the infrastructure in that development that maybe you guys don't know about. But I expect that you will have some water issues come up in people's basements. I bet there's gonna be water running through those, just because I think there was water that was, found and kind of covered up in those areas. So, that's one concern I have, and a reason for us to kind of take a step back and take a look at these. Maybe, it is a watershed area. Water quality is important, but also if you're going to develop in this area, you want to make sure that what you're developing is going to withstand, the development and the density. The other thing is, I was on the planning commission for Utah County for about 5 years. And during that time, I was very familiar with what the densities and the things. I do know that you can develop in the 20,000 square foot acre density with the county, but to my understanding, and this was about 6 months ago, talking to Chris Armstrong, no one had ever taken advantage of that. I can't remember what the zone is called, but it's so difficult. I mean, there has to be, a water system. There has to be so many things in place that it just doesn't, it's not feasible to do. So I think that in my understanding, I think the densest that this could be developed in the county that would make sense would be half-acre lots, and they would have to hook into Spring Lake water, which my understanding is that it is a capacity. There's no more. So, I mean, that's not an option, I guess. So I think that to think about developing in the county would be almost impossible to do in a dense fashion anyway. Let's see. The other thing that I just wanted to bring up that I don't know the answer to is drainage. Do we have a drainage system? Like if we develop, denser, where's the water from these roads and the curb and gutter, where would it go? I don't know the answer to that, but something that I feel like we should take a look at because it, somewhere, right? Let's see, there was one more thing I was thinking. I do appreciate, the work. Oh, I was involved in that, and I've been out of town a couple of months, so I haven't been in touch, but I'm on the committee for the plan on the west side, and I was disappointed that our area, the Spring Lake area, wasn't included in that. And I'm just wondering if there would be a way to include that in that work as well, just kind of, move it our direction a little and encompass that as well.
I could be corrected on this, but I don't believe so. It'd have to be a separate one. We're willing to entertain that.
And we're looking one more in the Spring Lake area, which would be better than trying to make a bigger one. It'd be better for the Spring Lake people to do it.
Just do one. Well, I am in favor of doing that, and if not, I'd love to see 1 acre lots as a minimum there.
Thank you, Alina. Appreciate you. And just while we're coming up, those kind of issues will be looked at very intensely with a wetland study, which would encompass the Corps of Engineers. So again, I feel that the holding area would be a very good place to be as those things are found out. Come on up. Thank you for being here.
Thank you guys for thinking about doing this study. But I would
Give us your name before you forget.
Greg Calloway.
Okay, good.
I said right off the bat.
I interrupted you. I didn't hear you.
Anyway,
I'm down.
what I'm wondering is, while the city gets together and thinks about this, can they have a couple, citizens from people you're gonna annex in? Maybe meet with you guys?
Absolutely.
Instead of, we feel like right now, anyway, I do, that like, we don't have no say, Payson's just coming and eating us up.
Jason's been talking quite a bit with the city and the developer and stuff like that. So, and he's been a conduit and several others have too. So, yeah, you can come in anytime and talk.
I know
I think, Greg, your question is, if we do it, which we are going to do the area specific study.
Yeah.
Helena was on the one out in West Mountain. There will be local residents of that area that will be invited to be on that board and participate.
That's what I'd like to see.
Yes. The answer is absolutely.
Absolutely, yes.
The more input we can get, the better of a plan it is.
And besides the steering committee, then there's also public times when people can come in, look at maps, make suggestions and all. So there's a lot of public input when we do a site-specific plan.
Years ago, we had a committee formed to make Spring Lake a township. Got right up to where the county commission was gonna sign it off. We had all the studies done. Got there that night, a few of the main citizens pulled out. And it's like we said, this is what we're gonna get. So I just want something that Spring Lake citizens can feel comfortable with, instead of every time there's another field annexed in. We have this same, oh, I gotta take Wednesday night to go to zoning. I gotta take Tuesday night to go plan. You know, no, these people don't want to be here. What?
Well, they should be here.
Come together as a community and we'll show up. You guys are aware of that.
That's why we're glad you're here. So thank you for your comments.
Just so you're aware, I think this meeting has doubled our entire annual attendance to these said meetings where we make these decisions on a weekly basis.
So we'll bring you back and back and back.
We love the input, we really do.
The last time we had a meeting with Spring Lake and Santa Cruz when they was fighting over who's gonna take Spring Lake. We had to move it in the big conference.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Come on up. There.
Hi, everyone. I'm Darren Menlove and born and raised in Payson and Spring Lake. And I want to thank the council for all the care and time that you're giving this question. It's an agonizing one for all of us. And I know that you're agonized because I have sent you how many letters this week? This is one of 3 or 4 that I have sent. But, you know, I've taken a lot of care and a lot of time to do some research, to look at all of the issues and what can be found to support our efforts here. And I would like to suggest that the next course of action can actually be found in the rules. But before I get to that, and I really appreciate the presentation too, that's really, really great. Before I get to that, I would like to make a quick appeal to the developer. You know, our community of Spring Lake is just marvelous. The property that you own, the 9 acres that is owned, is just gorgeous. You know that. There are 2 marvelous little ponds along the road, and there's a fantastic house there. Bring your family, move into the house, and be part of our community. We will welcome you. Gorgeous environment to live in, that's for sure. Back to the thing that I was wanting to get to. So in my research, I was looking, and on page 48, I believe, in the general plan, we have a map of the city, of course, and surrounding areas. And Spring Lake is included in that. And the land that we're actually talking about right now is designated or marked as wetlands. So then if we go to the municipal code, Title 21 in the municipal code says that sensitive lands, including wetlands, that those actually cannot be annexed and without the approval, or the wording is actually the satisfaction of the city engineer. So that implies there needs to be some process at that point. So some questions need to be asked. So I've asked a lot of questions. I've phoned the Army Corps of Engineers twice this week to talk about, you know, is that area, does it fall under the Clean Water Act for protection? And it does. And so the main question that we would want to be asking in a land use study is will the site development possibly violate the Clean Water Act? That's the question. And we can get to those answers, but we have to ask those questions. And we have to ask those questions first. So, and then I think in the end, it all comes back to a question of liability, of course. So why is it in the code this way? We have to do a land use study first. That is the way I read it. That we have to do the land use study first. So because, for example, if we didn't do due diligence and we just decided, okay, we're going to annex this land, and then let's say the developer goes ahead and it turns out there is actually a violation of the Clean Water Act, then the city of Payson becomes liable. Because they'll get to say, you didn't ask any questions at the point in your own rules and your own process. So I think that right in the rules, and that is, did I mention it? It's Title 21 in the code. I think, to me, reading that just as a layperson, it appears that already determines the next course of action here, which is a study or an assessment of some sort. So,
Yes.
so I would say, to me, it seems that it is very much a step-by-step process. And that, let's say, approving an annexation, which I believe has discussed, approving an annexation and approving a land use study at the same time seems to be putting the cart before the horse. And that because it looks like the rules say, you need to do the assessment first. You need to do your due diligence, and then you can proceed with the annexation. And I don't think this is closing the door on anything. I think that our rules and our process are just outlining a very step-by-step process. And so that's what I discovered in the work that I did. And I'm sorry for sending you so very many pages, but I was trying to relay that information to you as I was getting it. And then today it just sort of came together in a full process. I thought, oh, the answer is actually really simple. It's in the rules. So, and the rules will give us these. So, and I'm not meaning, don't mean to imply that we're not following the rules. You absolutely are. I'm just saying that that's what came to me as I was pouring through the documents. So I really appreciate.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really appreciate your help. Thank you so
You
much.
bet. Thanks, Derek.
I'm Caroline Ashby, and I'm proud to be a Paysonite. I do not live in Spring Lake, so I'm not directly affected by this. But I have had the opportunity over the past 44 years to watch Utah County, as I've lived in almost every city in Utah County, and have watched the orchards go down and buildings go up, and I know that's inevitable. But I'm not really here to, stand for the 25,000, but I really do care about this piece of land, and I have my entire life, and there are a few gems in Utah County that have brought me to tears that we've lost, and I really support the holding zone to do some careful planning. I'm not against our growth. I know it's going to be great for commerce, and I know that in a lot of ways we're ready for that. But because of the luxury I've had to live across the United States, I can see a few things coming. So I just wanted to show my support to Spring Lake and its residents, and thank you for letting me have that spot as a memory and a place of solace that I can go to. And I would like for that to continue. And in any way that I can help in this, I would be happy to. I live on a farm, and I'm seeing the barns go down, and it's sad. So I can understand where you're coming from, but I think the gentleman that said, it doesn't have to be a win-lose. I think with some great planning that everyone can be satisfied with it.
Thank you. And I think that's what we're all after. Absolutely.
Excuse me. Thank you for this opportunity to address you. Thank you for the public service that you render. My name is Gene Carley. I own 2.2 acres that is adjacent on two sides of the development. And my address is 12240 South, 36 12 West. Okay, a couple of thank you for setting kind of the standard here to talk about the annexation. I'd like to remind the commission, I know you already know this or have reviewed it, but under the annexation agreement you entered into with Mr. Seaman and now subsequently to Mr. McNeil, has this statement about land use. It says the city may require the preparation of a specific plan or land use plan that identifies future land uses, project layout and design, transportation, facilities, parks and trails, and other development-related improvements for the annexation area and the surrounding properties. It would be my thought that you can do both. And I think you should. I'm grateful to hear that there's interest in doing a land use plan. But in the interim, I think you ought to consider also allowing Jason Knapp and his family and others that are involved to see what they can come up with regard to working with Mr. McNeil and the city planning staff and any others that ought to be involved in that. It would be a sad day to miss an opportunity that could resolve a lot of questions for many of us who are concerned about Spring Lake, its future, the sensitivity of the land, and the overall environment. So I would highly encourage you to consider that. The other item with regard to the zoning, which has already been talked about, density. I'm very concerned about the density that is being proposed, even at 15,000 square feet. To me, it defies logic that somehow we're going to transition from residential into more of a rural atmosphere when next door to this particular annexation is practically at 15,000 square feet now. I have done some study with regard to, and I'm asking for some clarity here, but a study that I've done with regard to a recent law that was implemented by the acts of the state legislature. It's called the Internal Accessory Dwelling Unit law. And what that law says is that cities and counties are mandated to adopt this law and to allow property owners to who are going to live in their homes to finish a basement or an attic or a carport or a garage and turn it into an accessory apartment. And the idea behind that is, and I think it's a good one, and that is it helps address the huge shortage of available rental housing in our state. It only seems to be getting worse all the time. The concern I have is that when we apply that law to a subdivision of 15,000 square foot area, then technically we don't double the potential of the density in that area, because there are certain features in the law that says that about up to 25% of a zoning area can be restricted from having to follow that law. But it's the other 75% of the area of single family units that could potentially have an additional dwelling unit. So in fact, what that means for me as a neighbor to this development, if all of it were developed, if we took the two parcels, you're only looking at the one tonight. So we take the one parcel of 9.2 acres or whatever, it works out to not having 21 new homes, but technically it'd be more like 35 dwelling units in that area. Now, I'm only giving you my interpretation. I defer to staff for those who know more about that. But that concerns me very much.
Okay, appreciate your comments. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to have this meeting, so I can talk about it. I think most of you know me. I'm Vaughn Menlove. Grew up in Spring Lake, which is now in Payson, up on the highway where all those townhomes and everything are behind the house I grew up in. That was my backyard. When I grew up, I could leave my house, cross the fence, and go through those fields and end up clear up on top of the mountain. My mom would see me till dark. Now that's all full of homes, townhomes. And I look at that and just makes me sad. And I certainly don't want to see that coming anywhere closer to Spring Lake. I am probably the owner of the newest home in Spring Lake proper. I lived in Payson for 30 years prior to that. Former Payson resident. I don't want to stay a former Payson resident. I love Payson, but I don't want to be in Payson.
We'll forgive you.
We love y'all, but let's put a fence up between us and stay good neighbors.
You were a good neighbor.
I wasn't a good neighbor, I was. But it took, the house I actually lived in that I built is built on property that's been in my family for 100 years. My dad was born in the little house that we moved into from Payson, lived in this little house. He was born in that house 90 something years ago. This June, 91 years, this June, or 92 years, actually. I tore that house down so I could build a new house. It took me 6 years dealing with the county to build that house. My point is, to live in Spring Lake is not easy if you want to build a new house. If it was, I would have lived there. And we don't want to see a bunch of little homes from my backyard. I'll be able to see this built. And if, be honest with you, little homes would probably increase the value of my house, but I don't care if then I have to pay more taxes. Because my house is on a big lot. And that's what people come to Spring Lake for. I can go out, I have my neighbors here, so I gotta be careful. I don't have to talk to my neighbors for weeks if I don't want to. They don't want to. I'm trouble, I'll be honest. You don't want to make me mad. But what we have out there is special, and I've watched it slowly disappear. When I was a young kid, teenager, I was a paper boy. I had to ride 16 miles a day with as much as 100 pounds of paper on the back around that town. It was over 25 square miles.
It was uphill both ways, right?
Every direction, but several ways. We had to go uphill. Now, Spring Lake proper is about 2 square miles. It's being ate up. It's almost gone. Is there any chance we can just ask you to leave it alone? If you get all the way up to that road, don't punch any roads over in Spring Lake for Payson right there, please.
We appreciate your information. And, you know, just as a note here, I want to be this way, but we're being very liberal with everybody expressing their views. But one part of this was, please don't go over the same things. And we know all that, we live here. I lived here. So just please be mindful of that. Lane?
Lane Batty. You represent how many residents of Payson? 25,000. How many of those 25,000 are concerned about the annexation tonight?
You're welcome.
And that's all that's here to represent the rest of Payson, and then you see the room that is filled here with other people. So in your discussions and in your decisions, the rest of Payson really doesn't care what you do with that land tonight. We do. Another concern that Helena Carter brought up was the water there. How does that affect the quality of water around Spring Lake? There's other wells there. You go to development on that property, you can disrupt those springs. You can disrupt the quality of water that is there, as well as the amount of water that does flow into Spring Lake, of which Payson City pumps out for their irrigation. So let's not disrupt the water that's there or the quality of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Lane.
Robert Judd, I live in the trout farm. Just up the road, and I guess the only thing that I would say is we have owned that trout farm for going on 40 years. We have been in a drought for 20 plus years. The water flow at my facility is the lowest it's ever been that I know of. Now, we sit in that same little plain there, but I'm telling you that there are springs throughout all that area that if you are not careful, within 10 or 15 years, if we have some real snow in the next 5 or 10 years, you're going to have houses floating. Because like I said, my water, I'm permitted for 1,200 gallons a minute. I'm down to about 200 gallons a minute. That's the difference in how the water table is right now.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Ladies and gentlemen, we've enjoyed listening to you. And many of us share the same concerns that you do, because I grew up here. I'm 69 years old. This is where I live. I haven't lived in Spring Lake, but it's been an important part of my life as well. So we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. If I could have a motion to do that.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, I'll go ahead and open, if there's any other council discussion prior to a motion on the item.
I didn't hear from the applicant.
Say that again?
You want to hear from the applicant?
Absolutely. I'm sorry. Would you like to say anything?
Yes.
Please do.
Thank you. My name is Rob McNeil. I am the applicant. I think, first of all, I think it's very important that everybody understand that we all have stewardship over the environment, and beauty, and Spring Lake is very unique. And it is a great place. I love the area. And so I think it's my responsibility to, and it's something that I have been very considerate of, is preserving Spring Lake. I have had many residents talk to me and thank me for not doing townhomes or not doing higher density in this area. And when you look at the zoning map that is done by the city, I am allowed 2 to 5 units on this property. And with the current layout that we have, it's a concept. That's all it is a concept. I'm at 2.02 units per acre. That's it. I'm not 5, I'm not 10, I'm 2, in this area. A lot of cities, if you went in and said, I want to do 3rd-acre lots, they'd backflip out the door and back in and out, and I think that you got to remember that a couple of things, that a 3rd-acre lot right now is expensive. There are nice homes built on 3rd-acre lots. Just look around the temple. Those homes around the temple are about 0.28 of an acre to 0.33 of an acre, and $850,000 to $1 million on those homes. They're less than a 3rd acre. I also I want to address some of the things that were brought up, but I think it would be very important for the residents to get on the county map and go around Spring Lake and see the size of lots that a lot of people live on. You know, you have some people there that live on some big parcels, Mr. Callaway, Mr. Jensen, you know, the Perts. But if you go on the west side of the lake and you go on the south side of the lake, take a look and see the size of those lots. There is a lot of them under a half an acre.
I was doing that. You probably watched me playing on my phone. That was actually what I was doing because I was curious to see what the lay of the land was. And there was probably 10 to 15 of them that classified under that half acre. There were some that were clear down to 0.23 acres.
0.23.
They're in that in Spring Lake proper. So
yes. So I just think that, you know, it's like, hey, I can live on a 0.23 of an acre on the south of Spring Lake or less than a half acre, but boy, you know, Mr. McNeil, would you please do 1 acre lots for us? You know, but, you know, nobody complains about anybody else living on a house less than a half acre. You know?
Just a second.
Sure,
Just a
absolutely.
second. We all listen to you. Let's listen to him. Okay.
Yeah. Those are existing homes, but those are people saying, well, I can do this, but you know, you can't do that. You know, and I think they have to remember that there's a lot of homes over there that are under a half acre lot, on a half acre lot. They're not 5 acres. You know, they're not 1 acres. Okay, they're smaller. And they are. You just have to get on the county map and take a look at it. A couple of things. On a 3rd acre lot, you know, the 3rd acre lot right now is a good sized lot. The value is expensive. It's very expensive to improve lots nowadays. These homes will be nice, expensive homes, you know, and we can take care of a lot of those things architecturally and designs and things like that, as you know, through CC&Rs and a development agreement. You know, these will be nice homes. These will be expensive homes. These will not deter from Spring Lake. They will not. These will be nice homes that will bring value and good families to the area, period. There's no doubt in my mind. And I feel there's, as a stewardship, to make sure that the development is nice and that there is nice homes in this area. So we all know that, you know, we can take care of a lot of that through CC&Rs and a development agreement. Also, you know, everyone talks about water conservation. You know, it's really hard to have water conservation nowadays on a 1 acre lot. You know, on a 3rd acre lot, you got a good sized home. There's also the ability to conserve water in your landscaping. Water is a big issue. I'd like everybody to know that there are no wetlands on this ground. None, period, 0. I had a wetland delineation study done, and there was no wetlands or wetland vegetation on this property, period. There was none. And that was through a professional environmental study that was done, and there was no wetlands on this property. Yeah, I've got 2 ponds that are wet, but they are not considered wetlands. There's a big difference in what is wetlands and what is upland vegetation. You know, the water table, Helena Carter talked about the water table. You know, there are homes already built over there. Ron Zeman built a home 30 years ago. You know, I'm sure the water table was high then. You know, there's homes across the street. You know, there's ways that we can work around the water table, you know, and that's through engineering and working through the city and making sure that, you know, all of that correlates and works together. We know that. Anyways, I'm asking the council tonight to consider annexing the 9 acres, annexing it into 3rd acre lots. It does meet the general plan, and they will be nice homes, and we will be good stewards in what happens around Spring Lake. And right now, I open that to you guys if you have any questions for me.
So what are your feelings on a 5H holding zone?
What are my feelings about it? Well, 5H holding zone doesn't help me move forward, and get my project off the ground. As you know, the 12 acres to the north of me is already in the city. And those plans and the concept that we work through, that'll all be done with Travis and my engineer and all of that. That all gets worked out. Utilities, drainage, as you know, that all gets worked out.
I personally think that a holding zone would allow you to continue to go ahead and answer some of the questions that have been brought up tonight. Number one, I'm concerned about the state road access. I don't think you've applied or obtained that permit yet, that you need to go out onto the state road.
No, not yet. This is just annexation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that will give you time to work through those things. I'm grateful that you're working with Jason. I want to be positive here. I want it to be a win-win for everybody. And I think that my feelings is, and I have spent time with you. I've spent time in
Some homes out there.
No, I don't even see, yeah, there they are. I spent time, I was counting how many homes I've been in. I didn't get in his home, but I was in his backyard. And we spent considerable time back there. I've done my homework on this, guys. He's absolutely right. Any other city that was presented with 15,000 lot or square foot lots, I'm talking, if I'm blowing air in their skirt, please somebody tell me. I done the homework today in Spanish Fork and Salem. A 15,000 square foot lot is selling between $300,000 and $350,000 with $1.2 million to $1.5 million home. Anybody question that?
Right.
That's where it's at. So from a council position, this past year, I've only been on the council now. Today's my full year anniversary. Thank you. I have seen nothing but multiple housing projects come. And I vote no on many of them. I vote yes on some of them because they're necessary evil, where they have to go. And I like some of the multiple housing that we're seeing, but this is refreshing to a council to see what we all want.
Location isn't great, but it's what we want.
I heard somebody talk about sometimes you don't want to see your neighbor if you don't want to. 3rd-acre lots are a heck of a lot better than stacks. And they all have their place, but I'm trying to be both Payson and both Spring Lake here and say, this makes a great transition. I did talk to Mr. McNeil and I told him that I did not favor a road going on 12240. I don't, but that has nothing to do with it tonight. He's gonna have to deal with that. But the other thing that an A5A gives me as I read the rule, and Robert, if I've read it wrong, please correct me. An A5A will still need legislative approval for a zone change to approve what needs to go forward. Is that correct? And it's just not staff approved and go bill. And I pay this. Because I think the last thing I want anybody to walk out of here and feel like you wasted your time sitting there, because I am very much 100% in favor of getting a land use study done. And I think as Robert told me today that he's already got it in his budget for the new budget year that's coming in June. So that's gonna happen, guys. If these other 4 guys will work with me on it. I think the biggest problem we're gonna have, and this is out of your boundary, Rob, but while I'm on my soapbox, how are we gonna draw that boundary of where we do our land use study? Do we go up on the mountain a ways? Do we stop at the canal? Those are things we're gonna have to address, but we need to address them now before something else comes along. I firmly believe that, guys. I still believe that someday I can still ride my bike out to fish at Spring Lake without getting run over.
Thank you. Rob, any closing remarks before we go?
I just following what Bob said, that, yeah, we've been asking for some nicer, bigger lots in Payson for a long time. I think the last 3 years, when I look at the stats, we've about 65 to 75% of our homes are high density. So this is something we want, but then also we understand that there's people out there that will be affected by this. So I think that we might be able to come up with a win-win-win. And so I'm looking at doing the, going with the annexation, but doing the 85H to try to give that little bit of time to see if we can have a win-win-win, so it meets everybody's needs.
And Rob, I don't think it needs to be a long time.
Yeah, can we put a time on that? Because as you know, that.
I'm not gonna put a time on it. I don't think it needs a time. I think it needs time for you to spend with Mr. Knapp and work out some things that you guys have been working on and get a plat put together that staff can look at and in the DRC and say, yeah, that's what we're looking for.
Okay. And then don't feel like you're the only one picked on. I'm out here looking at some other developers who'd really like to start digging holes too, and kind of push them back and forth with density as well. And my biggest fear is investing close to $250,000 to $350,000 into this land study, creating a steering committee, putting countless hours of resource off of Payson City's payroll into the process, and coming back here in 18 months and the citizens of Spring Lake still hate it. And I think that you need to make sure that you help us select a steering committee that's going to represent you right, and we'll try to come to a consensus that will fit everything the very best. This small little portion of property might start to develop before the entire process is done, but we need to look at the whole picture and understand the whole picture and look at it in 3 to 25 years down the road. And that's what this study will do. It will put these numbers into place and things like that. And it's tough. Honestly, it's really tough sitting up here as a council member, trying to figure out how to make it and feasible. And talking with some of you, I love that Jason, he wanted to protect his property around him, so he bought it all up. And I'm the same way. I've bought up property near me for the same reason, so that I can protect it. But push comes to shove, I've had to sliver off little tiny pieces because people need to build, and that's where they need it to be. And I've worked with them. And he is very right. I have 1.47 acres in the center of Payson City proper. And right now I'm looking at consuming absorbent amounts of water, hundreds of thousands of gallons of water every single month because of the size of my lot. And if I had a 1/3 acre, I wouldn't have those problems. But it is what I want, and that's what I've got to work through. And so it's definitely a double-edged sword on how it works. And I apologize, but I agree. I think the A5H is probably our best option for right now. I know it feels like we're kicking a can down the road, but we need to kick the can a little bit down the road and see if we can come to a better understanding. So.
And I guess going along with that, for me, it's that we don't have to wait here till the area specific plan's done. It can be a process, trying to work through this piece while we still work on the area specific plan. But I don't think we need to wait a year and a half, and maybe it will never happen, but at least we've got to move down the road. We can't wait till the area specific plan is done.
Okay, unless there's other remarks from the council, we'll go ahead and close. I don't think we closed the public hearing, so I'll accept a motion for closing the public hearing. Did we? Okay, then we had Rob Coop. Okay, then I'm ready for a motion on the item.
Me? Mayor, I would make a motion Excuse me?
I just was asking him not to stone us. We're gonna do our best.
I'll try to word it as eloquently as I can. I would make the motion that we accept the annexation request of 9 point, what should I call it? 85H? No, accept the annexation request roughly located at 3650 west, 12240 south. I would also make in that motion, my findings are that there are still work that needs to be done and that the plat needs to reflect that work. I make the motion that we create or that we accept the A5H zone, that will put it in a holding pattern and allow neighbors to negotiate, allow a civil discourse on making things come together for everybody. My findings are, it is conducive to the Payson City general plan, that it is desirable area of a transition area between the divisions that are to the north of it, and that we can buffer that with this into what the citizenry of both Payson and Spring Lake can sit down and put together as an area-specific plan that will lead to the future development of Spring Lake.
Can you repeat that? I didn't get it.
Think it out loud, would you please?
I didn't say that, but I bet Kim could repeat it back to us, but I will second his motion.
Okay, this calls for a roll call vote. I have a motion that's been seconded, roll call vote, starting with Council Christensen,
Yes.
Council Hewlett,
Yes.
Council Carter,
Yes.
Council Proscar,
Yes.
Council Hyatt.
Yes.
Motion carries. And believe me when I say this, ladies and gentlemen, we are very, very appreciative of you being here. This is exactly what we're after. And so thank you very much for being here.
Gotta get by here.
Mayor, can you take a 5-minute recess for a
We're going to take a 5-minute recess.